This morning I received this package and it contains something a little bit exciting. For those with keen eyes, you might have spotted what it is on the front. Yes, it is the new TBS Chapito. Now this is their new wing, and what we're going to do today is take a look at what you actually get in the kit. This isn't a review, it's not even going to be an assembly video. What I'm going to do in this one is give you an overview of the wing and the electronics package, and then in the next video I'm going to actually put it together, and in the third video we're going to take it for a flight. But I am so excited about this, I wanted to get it started straight away, so hopefully you'll enjoy taking a look at what this new wing has to offer. Before proceeding, I just need to be crystal clear in saying that TBS did send me over this Chapito wing to take a look at for free. I have not, though, been paid to make this video. They've not seen this video before it's been published, and as always, my thoughts are entirely my own. Okay, so in the box, I have everything here. I just want to be clear in saying that what I've got here is sort of pre-release. This may not be exactly as you get it. There are different kits. There may be some slight changes. So think of this as an early look, not as such a review. So I have got the version with the electronics package. So in here, we've got the flight controller, the motor, some props, and some other accessories, which we will take a look at in a minute. We've then got our carbon fiber parts. So we've got some rods. We've got 3 from the look of it. We've got spar and then 2 smaller pieces there. We have a sticker pack, obviously. We then have the first of our 2 wings. There's our first. Nice. Spars are already in that, the strengthening carbon pieces. They're already glued in. Don't know if it comes like that for you, but it is for me. There we've got where our servo goes, under there. So we'll look at that in a sec. We've got another wing this side. Exactly the same, just in reverse. We've got one of our vertical stabilizers. This looks like the lower half. Yep, that's the bottom. And then we've got the main body itself there. So starting with the main foam, we have our big door on the top, which has a push down latch that is signified by those little vertical strips. And then you can see the latch underneath, and then it locks in at the front. There isn't a piece of foam sort of sticking out like you see on some models. It's just that it's chamfered down, that it fits in at the front there like that. And then that locks in with that latch. And then you simply press it to release and it pops out. Inside, we have some other additional accessories. We've got our bars. We've got our, not sure what that is. We'll look at that in a minute. We've got some screws and an O-ring in there as well. And then we have another cut piece for mounting into the bottom of the plane, for mounting our battery and our electronics onto. We have our battery strap, and in there now you can see the airflow area for it. Down in the nose is our action camera module. That is pushed in. Can I push that out? There it is. This is what's designed to hold your DJI 03, 04, Avatar HD, whatever it is. You can mount the camera in the front, your VTX in the middle there. You can add fans on that as well if you want to. And then that just slides down into the nose there. And then that sticks out at the front. It's got that integrated camera pod built in, so you're getting that FPV view directly through the nose of the plane. You're then also getting airflow coming straight through here as well, through here, because there's a gap under there, straight down, and that can then exit along into the motor area. But there is also an event exit on the bottom of the foam down here for airflow to head out. Obviously, we've got where our tail section fits top and bottom, and then we've got our motor mount on the back. Now, this isn't glued in at the moment. This motor mount goes all the way in, and you can see there that there's a hole through it. So our spar comes through the foam, through this, and out the other side, and that is what is giving the strength, but that then also holds the motor in. The nice thing about that is that it means that you don't actually have to glue that in, although I probably would recommend doing so. If we just grab our spar, which I'm going to see, is it that one? Let's just check here. No, it's not the big one. It's one of these other two. Let's figure out which one it is. I suspect it's the middle one. Ta-ta. There, we can pop that in like that. That then can go through. We can give that a pop. Careful push. There we go. So then that locks in and locks the motor mount in the back. So you don't have to actually glue that in place, but it is probably recommended. With regards to obviously fitting the foam pieces, these should be glued on. So this has a removable section on the side here. Let me just carefully look at that. That looks like, I'm not going to say it's glued, but it's not fully cut. But that has got a removable piece that you can split out for mounting in your receiver and everything. We'll look at that on the assembly, and then that will glue on there. We've then got probably a smaller spar for the vertical. That'll be that one there, won't it? So we've got the spar. So that pushes in like that. That then goes through. And then we've got a bottom piece that goes through as well. I probably haven't pushed that in enough in the top one, if I'm honest. I've managed to get the carbon rod in a bit further this time, so this should now simply pop on the top if I'm holding it properly. There we go. And then you can see that you would simply glue on like that. And then we've got our main wings, where we've got our servo doors. Then got our large carbon tube that goes through at the front, nicely like that. Let's do the same for this one. There you go. As you can see now, I've managed to push it together, and it really is as simple as that. Another nice feature on this vertical stabilizer is the fact that they've designed it to be able to take your antenna. Obviously, TBS are going to recommend you use this with Crossfire, and there's a space in here for you to be able to push your Crossfire antenna in. There should be enough space to get your receiver in here and here, and then there's a hole here that allows the Crossfire antenna to go down through the motor mount. So I'm just going to pop that forward just like that a second, and then if I flip it over, you can then see the antenna is sticking through there, and then that will go into the lower half of the stabilizer as well. There's a hole there for that too, and that means that you're nice and easily able to integrate your receiving antenna into the back of the plane. With regards to how this plane stays together, they've actually done this really quite simply. Rather than messing around with plastic clips and latches, they've simply glued in this piece which has a hook on it. There's one on each wing, and then when you pop the wing together, you will see that the hooks appear down by there, and you simply place a rubber band between the two. Now, this is obviously a very simple way of doing it, but it's quite good, especially on a product for new users, because you don't have to worry about breaking any clips or anything like that. You simply got a rubber band there, and as long as that is held in place, the wings will stay together. Now, I really like this on a plane that's designed for new users, because it just means when you inevitably crash, you don't have to worry about breaking any special mounting fixtures, any clips, anything like that. There you go, that is the foam parts together. Now at this moment it's being held together with pure will and excitement. I haven't glued it yet. We'll do an assembly later on in a separate video. Just to walk you around it, you can see there you've got your hole up the front for your FPV camera. That's going to be able to take DJI 03, 04, Avatar HD, HD0, whatever you want to put in there. And you've got that nice little camera pod unit. And what's cool about that is you can simply withdraw that out. It isn't limited specifically to being permanently fixed in the wing. In fact, if you had multiple wings, you could use multiple wings with the same pod. So that is a nice idea. You then obviously got your top door, which simply clips on. Some people will like the clips, some people don't. I like the clips, but if you want a bit more security, you could always put an elastic band around it if you wanted to. Then obviously the wings, as I showed, clip together with those hooks with the elastic band, and then you've got your vertical stabilizers and then your area underneath for your servos. It is a very simple and straightforward wing. It is a lovely size. This is perfect for the people, new people, or something portable and easy to carry. Whilst you can break it down, you are really not going to have any problems taking that with you. You can even get that on a backpack as well if you wanted to. Now the next thing we're going to do is take a look at the electronics package, which I've got as well, which includes that new AIO. In here we have everything I need to get this plane up and running apart from a battery. We have our motor, which is the TBS Mojito motor, which they call the EX22072 2000 kV MR30. So if we just take a look at that, you can see this is the motor that they have included with the kit. There you can see in a bit more detail, it's branded TBS 2207 2000 kV. You can see the windings there. Pretty much a straightforward 2207 motor with a 2000 kV rating. Normal lock nut, nothing particularly special. And then we've got that connector on here for the connection directly into our flight controller. Next, moving over to the servos, they've included two with the kit. No real information on these. They just look like pretty much standard basic servos. You've got two servos, and then you've also got a Y extension cable there as well, which we will need in the build. We have some wiring harnesses. We have a prop, which is a HQ R37R, nice and straightforward prop. We have a TBS M10 GPS module, including its wiring harness and a little sticky pad to hold it in place as well. And then we have the main electronics package, which is the really interesting stuff, which consists of their new flight controller itself, which we will take a look at more closely in a minute. We then have some more wiring harnesses, and then we have an external USB board, boot button board, switch and buzzer, and then there's a few extra wiring harnesses in there as well, including what looks to be a DJI harness. Now, this flight controller is officially known as the TBS Lucid Wing AIO. Yes, it's not just a flight controller, it is an AIO, and it has a 50 amp ESC built in as well. Obviously, this has been designed to be used with TBS's products, but actually this is a really nice standalone AIO for wings that you could use in any wing or plane, but obviously TBS would recommend it for use in their own products. Walking you around the I/O on this, you can see it has a pre-wired XT60 for power input, and then it has a connection down here for the ESC output. This connector is the MR30 FB. It is a 3-pin connector. The motor that they supply comes pre-wired with that on. However, if you did want to use this on your own wing, that is the connector that you're going to need. On headers, we have 6 PWM outputs available for motors or servos. There are actually 7 on this controller, but that 7th one is internal for use with the built-in ESC. You also, on this pin header, have TX and RX2, a UART available, and you then also have a CAM and a VTX port for your analog OSD. Looking Over this side here, you can see we have a micro SD card slot. We have a GPS port, which will be an I/O port. We have a receiver port, again, another UART, and then we have a USB header. This header is for use with the external board that they include with the controller. This allows you to mount this up in your airframe out of the way and not necessarily need access to the flight controller itself. There is a harness included with this, and this has our USB-C port on board, buzzer, a switch, and our boot button. Looking around the rest of the Lucid Wing, you can see on the back we've just got our input for our XT60, and then on the other side over here we've got another UART port which is labeled VTX. That is a dedicated port for use with digital VTXs such as DJI 3, DJI 4, Avatar HD, HD0, and then there is also a CAN bus port over here as well. Externally, this flight controller is housed in this plastic casing. It has these little winglets on the side that allow you to mount it down into your frame. If you didn't want these, I guess you could cut these off if you were going to use it in some other custom setup, but this is designed for mounting into TBS's products. When it comes to the main specifications for this controller, it is now listed on the TBS website. Just to give you an overview, it is based around the STM32H743 that runs at 480 MHz, 1 MB of RAM, 2 MB of storage. It has dual gyros, which are the ICM 42688s. Dual means that you can actually set up sensor redundancy on this. So for instance, if you're using it with ArduPilot, you can run dual EKFs. It does have an analog OSD chip on board, so you can use it with digital as well as analog, and that's the AT456E. You have a barometer on board, which is the DPS310, and that is connected via I2C. We have 6 PWM outputs, and as I mentioned earlier, 6 external with 1 internal. It doesn't have black box storage on board this controller, but you can do black box storage via that SD card slot. With regards to the I/O, I did walk you around it. They do list it here as 5 external UART ports, and that is the combination of those ports I walked you around earlier. It has that CAN bus port, does have an I2C port as well. That is part of the GPS port externally. There isn't a second I2C port externally. The other one is used internally for the barometer. There are obviously a number of other options. So there's analog inputs to ADCs for measuring the battery voltages, got the USB interface obviously that I've showed you as well, and they do state that it has a power control switch for filtered 5 volt, 6.2, 7 and 8.4 volt servo output, which would hint that you can actually control them via a switch via software as well, and they obviously state that it supports the DJI OSD via that dedicated digital port. When it comes to power, this controller does have multiple BECs on board. There's a 1 amp 5 volt BEC for supplying your receiver and GPS, and then there's a voltage settable BEC which is used for the PWM ports, the digital VTX port, as well as the analog camera and VTX port. That BEC is capable of up to 5 amps of output, and it can be set at 5 volt, 6 volt, or 7.2 volt, and as I've said, can support up to 5 amp. Just something to note on that, it does mean that your VTX voltage is combined with your servo output voltage. However, if that is a problem, there is also a pad inside that allows you to override the digital VTX port output to set it to VBAT rather than following that 5 volt output. So rather than actually trying to run, say, DJI 4 on 5 volts, if your servos are 5 volt, you could simply bypass that and set that to VBAT to allow it to get its required voltage. One other thing I just want to mention on here is whilst this controller is labelled as AIO 2-6S, they do say further down that it does support up to 8S input voltage. I have asked TBS about this. At the moment, I'm going to go with what it says up here, and on the header, this may be a typo, and I would base it around the 2-6S rather than 8S as is shown down here, and hopefully if it is wrong, TBS will update that in the near future. Finally, I just want to mention about supported firmware. This controller does work with both iNav as well as ArduPilot, and there are targets available for that as well. This obviously wouldn't be my channel if we didn't pop or take a look under the hood. So there are 4 screws underneath on this flight controller that hold it together. We will undo these and then we will take a look at what is going on inside. So let's lift the lid and that reveals our ESC. Looking around, oh, it looks like the top comes off as well. There we go. That reveals the top of the flight controller there. I just spin it round. You can see our STM32H7 there. We've got our battery input, a current sensor, our SD card. You've got your additional pads and I/O down there. I think we'll go in a bit closer in a minute and just have a quick look at some of those pads. Looking at this, what seems to be the case is you've got then your power output coming up here. And then there's another PCB mounted vertically, and that then comes in and mounts to the ESC at the back here. And then that is soldered to a secondary board that goes to our motor output connection. What's quite interesting about this is it looks like you could custom wire this if you wanted. If you didn't want to use this connector, you could probably unsolder this here, and then you'd be able to take that out and directly wire onto the ESC. Looking under the microscope, we can now see things in a bit more detail. You can see we've got additional pads here. So you've got I2C there, which is going to our baro. So our baro sensor is here, and that's the internal I2C ports that they're wired to. You've got TX and RX8, and then you've got the 2 ADC ports. Here we have our pads for setting our VTX output voltage. This allows you to select either the servo rail voltage or your VBAT. We've got RSSI port, ERS port. We've got the ports inside for adjusting the output of that second BEC for your servo ports. So you can see here, if you have no solder across these pads, it's 5V output on the header. Or if you short those ones, you're going to get 6V, or short those ones, you're going to get 7V. And actually it says if you short both, you can get 8V or 8.3V. You've then also got some additional internal pads there. So you've got CK3, SI3, SO3 and CS3 as well. There are some more pads there. You can then see the ESC info down there. And then on this side, there isn't a lot to show you other than the main pads from the ESC. At this point, I'm not going to go down any further as I don't want to break anything. It looks like I need to start unsoldering things to take it apart further. However, I need this to be able to test the Chupito. So that is pretty much everything I can show you on this right now. The next job is obviously assembly. Now, just so you have an idea of what this wing and some of these components cost, the wing itself is available for $79.99 as just the foam package. If you want to get it with the electronic package like you've seen from me here today, that's available as a pre-order for $199.95. With regards to that flight controller, you can get it in the kit for this wing for $114.95, but if you just wanted to get the flight controller on its own to use in your own wing, using something else, that is going to be available for under $70 as well, which I think is actually a really good deal considering you get in a very nicely packaged AIO. Really, really impressed with this. Super easy to put together from the looks of it. Now, I'm going to be doing a quick build video on this separately. I'm going to put this out as a separate video. Then I'm going to be doing a build video. And then I'm going to be doing the flight video. If you're interested in seeing that, please do make sure you are subscribed, obviously. I want to say a thank you for TBS for getting this over. Literally, it arrived today and I got straight on it. I couldn't wait to have a look. And I really do like what I see. If you're interested in getting one, there will be a link to it in the TBS on the TBS store down below. And really, that's it from me on this one. Any questions, put them down below and I will try and answer them. If you'd like to support the channel, please do consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. It is only through the support of my patrons I'm able to make content on this channel. And if you'd like to support us, please do consider checking it out. I want to say a massive thank you to all of my Patreons. We would not be able to keep doing this without your support. So anyway, I'm off to get some glue, get this together, and I will speak to you soon.